Welcome to You and Your Money. I'm Michael Porter, hosting for Brian Hirsch, who is once again joining us in the Zoom room. And our discussion this evening will revolve around short-term insurance. Our guests are Edite Teixeira McKinon, the CEO of the Ombudsman for short-term insurance, and Anton Ossip, the CEO of Discovery Insure. Welcome to all of you. Good to have all three faces at once today.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you, Michael.
Very different, Michael, very different, and a very different type of program because, you know, a lot of people wonder the role of the Ombudsman office and the insurers.
Absolutely, and how they interplay together. So the first question, I guess, is friend or foe when we look at the guests on the show today?
Well, let me put it this way, Michael. Insurers may evaluate a claim very differently. This gives policyholders an opportunity, particularly where a claim may have been repudiated, to refer it to the Ombudsman's office to get their view. And, you know, people see things a little bit differently. I think they're working partners. I think their job is to see ultimately that the insured is indemnified correctly and that claims aren't repudiated maybe incorrectly. But I think it'd be interesting to hear what both Anton and Deet see, how they see it, friend or foe.
Well, let's start with you, Anton, as the insurer. What are your thoughts there? How does this relationship work and benefit?
Look, I think there's a very good working relationship between insurance companies in general and the OSTI. And it's been like that for a number of years. Now, I think ultimately we're all aiming to do the same thing. We all want to make sure that clients are being treated fairly. As you say, Brian, clients sometimes have a different view of the situation as an insurer would. And it's useful to have someone like the Ombudsman who's independently, as effectively a free service for the customer, can have a look at it absolutely impartially and take a view without any one particular, without sort of favoring one party or the other, but actually just getting down to what does the contract say, what is fair, what is equitable, and then insurance companies will then adhere to whatever the ruling happens to be. So I think it's made a big difference in terms of making sure insurers look at claims in the right way, in a certain way, consistently across the industry. I think the fact that data is reported, so there's a reporting of the number of claims. I think that's a healthy thing, and therefore I think friend as opposed to foe. We're not going to always agree with everything, but that's fine. Ultimately, I think we get to the right result.
Definitely a working relationship that is for the greater good, I would imagine. Edith, I apologize, it should have been ladies first, but let's get your views on the relationship.
No problem. I think testament to what Anton has said about a good working relationship is the fact that we only had one formal ruling that was made last year, and this year, to date, our Ombudsman hasn't had to make a formal ruling against an insurer. And since the appeal mechanism was incorporated into our terms of reference, where either party that's not happy with a formal ruling may apply for leave to appeal, is the fact that since 2013, when this mechanism was in terms of reference, we haven't had a single appeal. So yes, there are going to be cases that we don't agree, and what we try and do is always encourage the consumer to first approach their insurer to try and resolve the matter with the insurer before coming to us as consumers away, but we do always encourage them to try and resolve these matters with their insurer first. The grey matters, the more difficult issues should be coming to OSTI. And I think that's part of also the bigger plan with Twin Peaks and making alternative dispute strengthening market in South Africa.
And Edith, in terms of this COVID-19 pandemic that we've been experiencing this year, what are the main types of complaints that you've been getting and how are they differing from, say, last year?
I think if we compare this year to last year, we've seen again another increase in the number of complaints coming to our office, around 8% year to date. And that increase is related to the COVID-19 complaints. We've seen that our commercial complaints have increased from 9% last year to 15%. So definitely an increase in commercial, and that is predominantly due to the COVID-19 business interruption complaints that we've seen a surge of in our office, as well as travel insurance have also increased slightly compared to last year.
Okay. And Anton, in terms of the short-term insurance industry, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected you guys?
Michael, it's affected us obviously in many ways. Operationally, it's been a very difficult time for insurance companies who operate sort of large bases of staff, many of them call center based, and and operating, from home, people with different sort of levels of connectivity, load shedding, I think it's definitely been a challenge. The first couple of months it was okay because, the activity was down. So you could kind of manage with less capacity working, managing claims, managing, queries, new business, whatever the case may be. But the last couple of months, I think, across the industry, it's been very, very challenging. Suppliers have been under a lot of pressure. Many suppliers have closed down and haven't been able to continue operating through the lockdown period just because of a lack of financial ability to keep running where there was no revenue coming in. So it's put a lot of pressure on all elements of the short-term insurance industry. I think the short-term insurance industry has done a good job to assist clients as much as possible during this time. I look at, and we've done comparisons globally, just about every single insurance company in South Africa has done something to assist customers with giving them a refund of premium, reductions of premium, particularly on the motor side where there have been reductions in risk. So it makes sense. If the risk is less, your premium should be less. So, for example, what we did is we gave 25% back for all customers driving, less than 250 kilometers or 15% driving, less than 500 kilometers in a month. They received an automatic monthly cashback payback to them. And if you look at the US, if you look at Europe, if you look at the UK, there have been few insurers that have done anything globally. South Africa, just about every single insurer has done something. So, whatever the level happens to be. So I think South African insurers can be quite proud of what we've done. We've also, I think many insurers have done what they can to assist customers, with some sort of premium relief. Obviously, you can't allow people to have full cover without any premium because that would be unfair to those that are paying their premium. And quite frankly, insurance is really shared risk is shared between the whole insurance pool. So if people don't pay premium, there's no money to pay claims at the end of the day. So I think, but there has been, where possible, there has been relief provided. So it's been difficult operationally. I think insurers have done well from an innovation perspective to come to the party. And obviously there have been some elements of frustration that customers have had, and I'm sure Brian's going to ask about them just now. But that's kind of unique to certain types of insurance classes.
Yes. And Brian, in terms of short-term insurance, not something you want to be caught without by any means, but so often it's considered to be a grudge purchase. How do you sort of deal with that in terms of people's perceptions?
Well, I'd like to just also come back to what Edite and Anton have said about helping customers and particularly problems going forward. But people need to understand, it's only at the time of a claim that you realize the importance of insurance. You don't always realize. You realize you're paying these premiums. You say, why am I paying these premiums? Why do I pay motor premium? It's like anything else. You want a claim, well, you can have a claim, but that's not really the purpose. The purpose is to protect you, certainly the major assets in your life. I mean, we talk about maybe cell phones and the smaller things that people over the years have claimed for. But let me just put it this way, Anton, and both to you, Edite, as well. A lot of people have had reduced covers, particularly businesses, maybe stock holding and goods in transit, and as well as when you talk about getting discounts for less travel. And they may not yet have, they may now be operating again and goods may be coming in. We've seen slight things pick up. What's going to happen if you have an increase to sums insured back to levels or close to levels where you're now going to find yourself underinsured? And don't you think that there's a possibility of claims coming in there, and particularly the big concept of underinsurance, where it's, as you know, that in any policy today, if you're underinsured, you're going to become your own part of that of the insurance operation. How do you see that going forward?
If you want me to cover it,
that's on.
So I think firstly, as you say, you pay for ultimately what you get. If you want to cut down on your premium by cutting down on your cover, then you're not going to have the cover potentially that you require when you have a claim. And it's important that clients take ownership ultimately of making sure that they got the right cover, and financial advisors obviously are there to assist clients as well. As an example, we saw a number of clients downgrade their cover from comprehensive motor cover to third-party fire and theft. During the lockdown month of April and May, when obviously cars were not driving at all. The vast majority of them went back to comprehensive afterwards, but there's a lagging kind of element of clients that haven't increased it. So what we've done is constantly we are sending out messages to clients and to their advisors to advise them that they need to consider increasing their cover back to comprehensive. There may be a reason why they want to stay on third party. Maybe it's a spare car. Maybe they're not driving much and they're now working from home. Or maybe they've consciously decided to take on their own risk it's difficult for us to tell. We don't know what the client's thinking by staying on third party. But we feel that it's incumbent on ourselves to constantly remind so that there's absolutely no risk that someone didn't understand what they were actually doing by paying only for 100 Rand a month where their premium was previously 1,000 Rand a month. But you're right, Brian, there's going to be lots of people in the insurance industry, lots of insured population that ultimately will have a claim, their house will burn down and they've taken their house off cover, their car will be in an accident and they'll drive into they'll have a serious accident and they don't have the right cover. And it's very, very important, people listening to the show, have a look at their schedule, see what they're covered for and speak to the advisor, find out what they're not covered for. And then at least eyes wide open, you know what you've got and what you don't have.
Okay. Edite, just a quick
one. Because Edite, your report often responds and talks about underinsurance being one of the big aspects of claims, when people come to you underinsured and how you have to deal with that at your office.
So yes, the danger in reducing your cover is that you forget to then, when your circumstances change, to increase that cover, especially when you've gotten used to a certain reduced premium. And so what we find in our office are those complaints around the rejections by insurers based on misrepresentation, when actually it's just unintentionally someone's forgotten to look at their cover again and to put it back up to where it was, and then they have an incident and they're not covered. And yes, underinsurance is not, or average is not understood by the average, person who takes out even insurance. It's something that is part of insurance law. It's not always explained, especially in the direct market to consumers, so they don't even know that when they have a claim, they will have to bear a portion of that loss if they are underinsured.
Very important to keep informed around your insurance. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be back in just a moment. If you would like to get in touch with Brian, please do remember you can still email your questions to brian@bdtv.co.za or brianh@bhca.co.za. We'll see you in just a moment.